The allegations against these 4 sex trafficking suspects are as disturbing as they are heartbreaking. Marietta police say the young women and young men are charged with trafficking a person for labor or sexual servitude. And police say each one played a critical role in what allegedly happened to a 15-year-old runaway who called 911 from this motel off Northwest Parkway early Monday morning.
It is an issue that all of us must step up to stop. Whether it's the sale or purchase of a person for sex, or by doing something about it when you encounter the trafficker or the victim.
Through Centers of Care, a nursing home company based in Woodmere, but weren't paid what they were promised and were threatened with substantial financial penalties if they quit. Such conditions a threat of serious financial harm designed to keep anyone from quitting and therefore violated anti-trafficking laws.
On Saturday, September 8th, 2012, the Toronto Police Service's Special Victims Unit commenced an investigation into an alleged juvenile prostitution and human trafficking occurrence. Information was provided that in late August of this year, 2 young female victims
Human trafficking is not talked about enough. The fact is that there were no laws until 2000 to fight against human trafficking. Now the government and the people are starting to take notice. Are you ready to start the conversation? In today's society, there are a few things that could shock the nation to its very core. One of these items just so happens to be human trafficking. This is a global problem, right? I would say yes, but it's the nation's problem. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. The United States is the #1 contributor of human trafficking victims in the world. This may be shocking, but unfortunately, it's true. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry globally. Slavery still exists within human trafficking, and every 30 seconds, a person becomes a victim, and every day, 300,000 children are being trafficked in the United States. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. It is the exploitation of another person through force, fraud, or coercion. It's a violation of human rights. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, from suburban areas to cities and small towns, any race, any gender. Sex trafficking and labor trafficking are the main concerns in the United States. This continues to be such an issue because of the fact that money is involved. The people that are chosen as victims are people that are in poverty, drug addicted, or come from broken homes. A majority of human trafficking cases start on the internet through social media such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. The more we can educate the public and raise awareness, the more quickly we can identify the victims and the perpetrators. The way that traffickers gain control is they befriend them. In fact, in most cases, the victim knows their trafficker. It can even be a family member. Traffickers know their victims and their circumstances and offer them things like money, love, or nice things. They do this in order to gain control of their victim and gain psychological control to isolate their victim. The average life expectancy of a trafficked victim is 7 to 10 years. Some die by homicide or suicide, drug addiction, disease, or overdose. The best way to fight against human trafficking is to become an advocate or an abolitionist. Learn the signs of trafficking victims. You can go to www.polarisproject.org, and all the signs are there for you to see. A few signs of being controlled. They are overly submissive. They do not make eye contact. They seem like they do not have their own control. Every national and international agency that liberates slaves and works with victims says lack of public awareness is the number one obstacle in fighting human trafficking. Mississippi is tied to human trafficking, and there have been many cases in the news as of late. The reason Mississippi is a mecca for human trafficking is its geographical positioning. Interstate 55 and 20 connect Mississippi to Louisiana and the greater southeastern region. The number of trafficking cases in Mississippi has increased by over 218% since 2012. This year, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation just announced that they have a new human trafficking division. U.S. Department of Justice just awarded Mississippi $1.7 million to combat human trafficking. But the truth is that human trafficking can be combated by the citizens that live in the United States through advocacy and abolitionism. There are certain things that traffickers will do in order to take you, which meaning they will kidnap you. In trafficking situations, it can be where they coerce you or they just take you. And typically they want people with a light to a medium build. They don't want somebody that is bigger because it's easier to grab somebody if they're smaller. And another thing that I want to reiterate is the fact that males are trafficked too, and the statistics tell us that they are. 1 in 3 is a male. So I know that nobody wants to talk about males being trafficked, but males are trafficked just as well as females are. Now, it's not typical for males to be trafficked in the sex industry. That's typically females. Males are usually labor trafficked, but they are still trafficked, and they still are put into the sex industry as well as women. So that needs to be put out there as well. Sometimes traffickers will pose as a person selling a fragrance, like outside of a mall or something to that effect. But typically a big store like a mall doesn't let people sell out in a parking lot. So if you see somebody doing this, you should stay away from that person, because obviously there's something that's wrong with that situation. And typically the spray that they are selling is not really fragrance spray, it's a knockout spray, and if they can spray it on you, you end up passing out and then they take you. Sometimes they will park 2 vehicles, usually bigger vehicles like vans or SUV, something to that effect, on either side of an empty parking spot. And they do this so that it can conceal them if they do try to take somebody. And not only that, but they can put more people into a van or a SUV type vehicle. They will put pamphlets or roses or things of that nature on your car, and I mean underneath your windshield wiper. And they do this so that if you come upon your car and you see something on your windshield, obviously you're going to bend over and try to pick it up. If you bend over and try to pick it up, they automatically take you. So if you do see a pamphlet or a rose or anything in that nature on your car that you are unsure of, I would just say get in your car and lock the doors and start your vehicle and go. And if it's not an obstruction of vision, I would say just keep on driving to your location, to the location that you need to go. What most people probably don't understand about traffickers is they don't look like bad people. And I think that everybody has a common misconception that everybody is going to look like this horrible person. But in all actuality, they look like normal people. They don't There's not a telltale sign saying that they're a trafficker. They look like everyday people. And a lot of the times, traffickers will use elderly people and male, female. And what they'll do is this older person, if you're at the grocery store, will say, can you please help me with my groceries? Or can you help me with some of my items, or whatever the case may be? And you go back to their car with them because you're going to help them with their items, and the other person is waiting in the car, and they're going to kidnap you right then and there. Another ploy that traffickers use is they will use their car and they'll run into the back of you, into the back of your car, which they don't do it enough to where it's going to cause too much damage, but enough to where it shocks you enough to where you get out of your vehicle. If you get out of your vehicle, they take you. If this does happen, stay in the vehicle and call 911 and tell them what has happened and give them your location, and wait for a police officer to get there. Here are some tips to prevent being trafficked. The number one rule is you should remain vigilant at all times. Obviously, this doesn't mean in your house, but anytime you're outside of your house, you should be aware of your surroundings. Situational awareness is very, very important. There's target areas that you should be aware of, and that would be anytime you're walking to the car from a store, or from the car to a store, usually around your house. Traffickers aren't typically going to be waiting around your house. They're going to be somewhere else. They're going to be around stores. They're going to be around other areas. So just make sure that if you are walking from your car to a building, make sure that you are aware of your whole situation and you are aware of your surroundings. Or if you're walking from the building back to the car, be aware of your surroundings at all times. Walk with a purpose. Make sure you hold your head up high and your shoulders back. Typically, if a trafficker is looking for a person, you are not going to be the person that they're looking for. They want to see somebody that's meek and mild, and they're going to use that person as a target, not somebody who is not only aware of their surroundings, but are confident in their own skin. Try to keep your hands free. If you can't keep them both free at all times, keep at least one hand free. Take a self-defense class. Carry a flashlight. Carry a folding tactical knife. And the most important thing about this is not only carry it, but know how to use it. Practice opening and closing it. Carry mace or pepper spray. Also, you can carry a taser. I think that if you're comfortable carrying a taser, carry a taser, but I don't recommend it because of the fact that they have to get in such a close vicinity of you to be able to use it. Carry a firearm. Anybody who is of the age and can carry a firearm should. But just like I said with the knife and everything else, if you carry a firearm, know how to use it. It's the most important thing. Not only that, know that it can be taken away from you and used against you. The conversation has now been started. Americans need to remain vigilant. If you or someone you know suspects trafficking, please dial 1-888-373-7888. That'll connect you with the human trafficking hotline. Or text Be Free